Welcome back. The House is scheduled to return this month after its summer recess. Yay. With time running out to reach a deal to prevent a government shutdown, one of the first things on the agenda for House Republicans is an impeachment inquiry of President Biden.
If you look at all the information we've been able to gather so far, it is a natural step forward that you would have to go to an impeachment inquiry. And just so your viewers understand what that means, that provides Congress the apex of legal power to get all the information they need.
That, of course, is House Speaker Kevin McCarthy talking about he's ready to go. Joining us now is Virginia Congressman Bob Good. He's a man of strong opinions, both on impeachment and government spending. He represents the Fighting Fifth from Central and Southern Virginia, James Madison's old congressional district. Congressman, thank you for being with us.
Indeed. James Madison was the first member of Congress from the 5th District.
That's right. It's a pretty good. That's a pretty good pedigree. Okay, I want to read to you a couple of points of view from within your own conference. Don Bacon, Republican from Nebraska, we should have some clear evidence of a high crime or misdemeanor, not just assuming there may be one. I think we need to have more concrete evidence to go down that path. That's what he had to say about the possibility of an impeachment inquiry. He's not there yet, but Marjorie Taylor Greene has a different point of view. She says that she will not even vote for Congress to proceed with spending measures unless she already has assurances that that impeachment proceeding is underway. Where are you on this? Give us the lay of the land in your conference.
Well, thanks for asking, Chris. And I was watching the previous segment, and frankly, because of the border invasion that's been facilitated by this president on purpose, willfully, intentionally, the president ought to be impeached for that. He's violating his oath of office to protect the United States. Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution says it's the responsibility of the federal government to protect the states from invasion. How do we let a president continue the policies that he's undertaking where he stopped border security on purpose? You talked about on day one. He did that on day one. He intentionally ceased border security, surrendered control of our border to the Mexican crime cartels. That said, there is growing evidence.
Do you think President Biden wants that flow of illegal immigration and he wants those things? You say it's intentional. Do you think that that is his desire, that fentanyl flood into the United States?
Well, we can debate what we think his motivations are or what his desires are, but the facts are he ceased border security. He has allowed no security at the border, no improvements to the border. As you know, we had to pay out millions, hundreds of millions of dollars of contracts that were already undertaken to secure the border. We've allowed materials to rot and rust there at the border. Walls are not the perfect solution. They're not a panacea, but certainly a wall is a helpful tool. Border Patrol will tell you that. I've been there 5 times myself. This is an unprecedented invasion by the southern border. I would submit, Chris, that never in the history of the country has our own president done more to intentionally harm the United States than what he's done on the border alone. We should not allow that to continue for another couple of years of his term. We ought to impeach him for that. But beyond even the actions of the.
But it's that word intentionally. It's that word intentionally. Do you think that Joe Biden wants those things to happen? I can understand certainly an argument where you would say that you think he's incompetent or he's misguided or he doesn't understand or he has bad policies. You keep saying intentionally. Do you think that Joe Biden wants fentanyl and murderers and rapists and these people to come into the United States illegally?
Well, I don't think he's that incompetent. You might argue that he's incompetent. So I think he knows what he's doing. He promised in the campaign trail in 2020 that he was going to stop the border wall. You had those individuals wearing the Joe Biden T-shirts as soon as he was sworn in, coming into the country. The numbers are astronomical. They're historic. Chris, we've had some, 1.5 million criminal gotaways. The ones who don't come in and surrender for the free education, free travel, free health care, free social service, even free housing at government expense, at taxpayer expense. You've got the 1.5 million criminal gotaways who wear the carpet shoes, and they're in camo head to toe, and they're evading apprehension at the border, even though we simply, for the most part, catch and release them. We're not really turning anyone away. If 90% of those were wonderful individuals who were just confused, you'd have 150,000 just dangerous actors into the country. Irreparable harm has been done.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.